Hi, everybody. I'm Katie Arroyo.
And I'm Laura Manasowich.
And this
this
is
is
Pinky
Pinky
Promise,
Promise.
a podcast about growing up. And we have a very special guest today who has a really, really cool story to share with us. We have comedian and writer Paulia Combow. Hi, Paulina.
Hi, that was in such great unison. That was great.
This was our best one, I think, because normally, normally it sounds like we're on two different continents and also not paying attention to each other.
You locked eyes and went for it.
I got a Wi-Fi booster over the weekend. It's
Did you really? Because I feel like we just got our first Dirty Dancing lift because we tried to put that in unison every week. And it
No
never...
more watermelons, baby.
I'm here for it. I'm a witness.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us in this special moment. But yeah, we have Paulina. And Paulina, you have probably the person who approached us with one of the most unique stories, right? Yeah. I would say.
We didn't get any duplicates of this.
No. Which, was crazy, hard to believe. But Paulina wrote to us and told us that she actually grew up in a nursing home. And right away, we immediately turned you into our own personal version of My Girl.
Yes, Zeta. Veda Stoltenfuss. I'm glad you guys get that reference because I did feel like Veda, only those bodies were walking around and in our kitchen. So
how
it was even scary.
Yeah, I bet. We were saying that too. We were like, oh, you know what? She's just like Veda. And then we were like, that was probably creepier for her. So how,
at times, yeah.
How, what, why?
All the questions.
All the questions.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it kind of evolved over time, but my mom had, I think, taken care of one of her uncles, at home, and I think she enjoyed it and did a good job, and then she kind of found out that people do that for a living. And so she learned more and more about it. So that was an option. We're from a smaller town in Kentucky, and instead of sending, your loved one to a nursing home with 60 other people or whatever, it would be like just a couple of other people living there. And then you're with the family. So they were part of our family.
That's so crazy.
It was hard to explain to the other kids. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you guys are looking at me and I'm like, I know.
No, I love it. I love it. So did you, did your uncle live with you when your mom was taking care of him, or did she travel to his home to care for him?
Yeah, I was so young at that point. I barely remember that even at all. But so it was just from such an early age that it was just kind of like, oh yeah, there's this elderly person that lives here. And sometimes, they're in the living room with you, they're going to Cracker Barrel with you. Sometimes they're not ambulatory, they just stay in their room all the time. But yeah. So, people would always kind of joke that this was the last place you go to live was my house.
But so so
that was fun.
Grew up as soon as you remember, then you just had these elderly residents living in your house.
For the most part, yeah. So I'm the oldest. There's 4 of us total. So it was like a family restaurant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All hands on deck. I had to help. I mean, it was mostly my mom. And then I mentioned this to you guys too. I was like, I have a few different things I could pitch you all, but this is probably the weirdest. But yeah, my dad he also worked full time as a police officer. So, it was mostly just us.
And so did you have farm chores, but for your patients, or how many people lived in the house?
Yeah.
It would usually be just because, they would have to have their own bedroom. So it would we always had a big old house, which I thought was normal. My mom actually still lives in this huge old Victorian house from the 1800s. But yeah, so there's extra room, there's extra bedrooms. You're not on top of each other or anything. But they would have like their own bedroom and bathroom, and sometimes their own entrance, that was private. And then sometimes she would also have people come just during the day. It was more like a daycare for elderly people. Yeah. So I don't know. That was also fun, I guess.
And so did she have like so the daycare people, did she have like activities for them? Like was she like, oh, now it's like painting hour, or now it's like whatever, music time?
No, not a whole lot of that. There was a lot of gospel music. We're in the Bible Belt. We would do activities such as polishing the silver, things. I mean, honestly, if you came to the house, you would think it looked more like an antique store than a nursing home. But yeah, that's kind of what it was like. It really was, because none of my grandparents lived nearby. They were all several hours away. We didn't really see them much. And so it was like having those built-in really old grandparents.
Yeah.
Most of them had some kind of memory issues, like Alzheimer's, dementia. So that was something that we had to get used to at a really young age, repeating yourself over and over, sometimes giving somebody bad news over and over again. But we had some characters that lived with us. I was not funny growing up. I don't think anybody expected me to be a comedian, but I think like I was around some of the funniest people ever. I don't know. Whenever you have Alzheimer's, if you're a funny person, you don't hold back anything. Let's just say that.
Right.
So did you
we had
like
this?
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we had this lady that lived with us a long time. Her name was Evie Buttons, and she had Alzheimer's. Right? I mean, you think these are characters? These are really their names.
Yeah.
And she was just hilarious. I'm sorry, I feel like my Kentucky accent is really strong today. I've been on the phone. But she's like, if you ask me who my favorite comedian was, it's not Tina Fey or it's Evie Buttons. She was so funny. She would make up songs. She would make up dances from her wheelchair. She would like dance with her boobs and do things like that. I mean, I didn't have any friends per se that came over, but we laughed our butts off. You know what I mean? It was a lot of stories.
So did you have friends come over ever, or were you like, if I'm hanging out with my friends,
it's not at my house.
I had a select few friends who just did not care, didn't think it was weird at all, came over all the time, And then of course, as I got a little bit older, I remember trying to impress the more popular kids. And I think about 5th or 6th grade is when we started walking home on our own from school. And I convinced this girl to come over and hang out after school by telling her we could watch TRL. I don't know how old you guys are, but everybody watched TRL after school on MTV.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I didn't have cable and I lied to her. I don't know what I was going to do. So we get to my house and I'm like, okay, if I can just get her upstairs, we can go in my room and hang out and she'll never have to know that old people live here. Oh, apologies. Let me turn off my sound. And so we go in the house. She comes in the den. I told you it's this huge house. So we come into the den first where the TV is. She's like, let's watch TRL. And I go, oh, nah, let's just go to my room. And so she tries to turn it on. There's no channels. I'm just like, oh, something's wrong. I don't know. Let's go to my room.
Cable's out. Weird.
She's like, what channel is
What's
MTV?
happening?
And you're like, don't worry about it.
We'll have to call the cable man, I guess. I don't know. So we go through, like the dining room, these other rooms. We come to like the big living room where Evie Buttons is sitting in her wheelchair and she's singing one of her songs. And my friend is like, who is that lady? Is that your grandma? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about her. Like, stairs are right here. Let's go hang out. She's getting more suspicious, you guys. And so Evie Buttons is yelling for us at this point, and she's like, come over here and sit on my lap. So my friend is like, I think she wants us to go talk to her. Let's go say hello. We get over there to say hi. I'm sweating. I'm mortified.
Yeah.
I think my friend did sit on her lap. I'm like, please don't do
Wow.
that. She's in a wheelchair. Please don't do that. Don't hurt
Doesn't
her.
care. Yeah.
But then my friend noticed that she had Beanie Babies stuffed into her shirt.
Sure.
And she was like, aren't those your Beanie Babies? TY Beanie Babies, big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, well, not anymore. She's gonna keep those Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I never had anybody that got to come over to the house. It was a little embarrassing.
Amazing.
So did you like the first time your friends come over that were like close, were you just like as you get older, I feel like you have to start like planning how you're gonna break the news so that you're like, so we're gonna come over to my house, but just FYI, there's like 5 old people wandering around. I'm not related to any of them.
They're cool. They're not ghosts. They're my roommates.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, I don't see anybody. Do you see somebody in there? This is this old creepy house.
So like how many?
Yeah, I mean, eventually you have to break it.
Yeah, how many?
I'm like,
people were in
okay,
the
these
house?
people live here. It would be 2 bedrooms at the most.
Okay.
And then maybe a couple of day people. So yeah, it would probably be like 4 at the most. At one point there was a couple that shared a bedroom, but it wasn't like multiple people. Yeah. It was just like, oh, those are my grandparents.
I was gonna say,
and it was kind of believable.
Did they just like I feel like they would just act like your grandparents, like especially if they have Alzheimer's. They're probably just like, these kids are just around and like, I'll just be their grandma. I'll just do it.
Pretty much. And my mom's, I always hated this, of course, but she wanted us to make them feel at home and call them like Aunt Evie or whatever.
Yeah.
Your uncle this. And I was like, don't do that. Like they know. You know what I mean?
Did you guys
I think I also
it?
mentioned, oh, go ahead.
No, did you guys did you like having it, or were you like mortified?
Well, definitely during the preteen years, I was just like, oh, this is the worst. Like, why can't you do anything else? For my mom.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends also, their parents were never at home. And so the ones that were more like the latchkey kids, they loved coming to my house because my mom was always there. She was always making us snacks.
Yeah.
It's a house full
I don't
of
know,
people.
like everybody just felt like my house was warm and alive, and there was always some food cooked that you could eat, like always.
Yeah. It's
so
funny,
once I got into high school, like everybody liked it. They thought it was funny.
In the preteen.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. I was just gonna say, like, it's funny that you're like, oh, in the preteen years it's mortifying, which I feel like it doesn't matter what, like, your house could have been full of rock stars. If you were 12, it would have been the worst thing. Like, no one is interested in what's happening in their house in those years.
But also your friends that don't have them are like, it's so cool that your mom makes you snacks. Like,
yeah.
We thought
so I think I don't know if my mom just like shoved it down our throats, but we were always like, no, we're so lucky that our mom gets to stay home with us. We're just not her first priority,
Sure, of course. Did any of the people die in your house, and was that like scary?
All of them died.
They all, well, obviously they're right, but I didn't know if that like was it did your house turn into hospice?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think we knew it was called hospice, but
sure,
a lot of times that was what happened. It was somebody got to the point where they didn't know how much longer they were going to live, and they couldn't be, they weren't on machines or anything like that.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it teaches you a lot of compassion to just sit with somebody and just be aware, like, you don't know how much they can hear. You don't know how much they're aware of. You just have to always try to pretend like they can hear and everything that you say,
Yeah. So how old were you?
That's something that I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like something I hate that we do with like elderly people or disabled people is talk about them like they're not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a huge, huge thing that we don't really think about that much. because these people aren't out in our culture that much.
Yeah.
We haven't made space
You know
for
what I
them
mean?
to be. Like,
Yeah. So
Exactly.
did they like a lot of times in nursing home, like did the family of the residents come to visit them regularly at your house, or were these people kind of just on their own?
They did, yeah. Usually did have really good families. Like I remember one of the people was related to like the pro golfer, the PGA golfer that lived in our town. So we were like, oh yeah, so and so's aunt lives with us. You know what I mean? Like it was this thing, like they're a celebrity.
yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the kind of strange things, was that people would just walk in like it's a nursing home, I guess.
Yeah.
But we're all like, it's still our house, you know. I'm still a
Yeah.
teenager who,
Yeah, that's
you
what I
know,
mean. Like
very embarrassed about everything.
yeah, I just picture you're like trying to like nurse a hangover on the couch, and then so and so's like grandchildren come over, and you're like, oh, let me sign you in, or like whatever you would have to do for like in a regular nursing home, and you're just like, I'm just making a sandwich, but now I'm gonna check these family members into my home.
Yeah. No, I remember one time I thought I was home alone, you know, meaning home with whoever,
Yeah.
because somebody always had to be there at all the times. And I was just practicing my choir song, whatever it was. I'm like belting it out as loud as I could. And then somebody just walks in the room like, hello. I was like, just jumped out of my skin.
Oh my goodness.
So did you guys no, go ahead.
Well, okay, so the person who was our favorite, I think I pitched to you, he lived with us for several years until even after I went away to college. Like I would come home and visit with him and stuff until he passed away. But his name was Buddy Moss. You know, they always had these fun names.
Yeah.
And he was in the CIA. Like he was one of the founding members of the CIA.
That's so crazy.
But he also had Alzheimer's. I know. So he was just the coolest, classiest guy, wore suit every single day. And it was just amazing that no matter how much he had control of his mind, he never let anything slip, ever.
Wow.
Because, you know, we'd be like, Uncle Buddy, like, do you want some coffee? Are aliens real? Who killed JFK? Just like, he would just say, I'm not at liberty to say.
Wow.
But, yeah.
That is funny because
they had really fun stories, you know.
Yeah. I work with older people, and I've worked with a lot of patients who have Alzheimer's, and some of them will say like the craziest thing. Like we treated this patient who came in, and we at the time no one had told us yet that she had dementia, and it might have even not been diagnosed or whatever, but so she comes in to us, and she was like, oh, my husband just left me. And we were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she's like, yeah, she left me for Betty so-and-so because she does the mouth sex. And we were like, what? I think she was like, yeah, she goes, she does the dirty kind, you know, the kind with your mouth. And we all were like, oh. And then we looked up her chart, and it was like she was divorced like 50 years earlier. And like that's what came back. That's what she was living every day. We were like, this poor woman, like of all the memories of your life, that's the day, like that's the time period that you get stuck revisiting. And it's like, ugh.
I know. Let him go, honey.
Yeah, I was like, he's no good.
And there's just no filter, you know.
No.
You can't censor anybody.
So did you guys have any patients that lived there that you like completely disliked, or were they pretty much all like amenable?
Oh yeah, sometimes they were just like a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And would like yell for somebody or scream for you or just have all these requests, you know. You know, we were just like, oh, they're so spoiled. They're just real spoiled. Just try to we're very Southern polite about it. We're just like, well, bless your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try to be nice
This
to
is
their face
like,
at least.
yeah, if this was like an upstate New York story or like a Jersey story, you'd be like, and then we smothered her with a pillow and our problem was solved.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few who were, you know, personalities just don't work out. We gave it our best shot, but they're gonna have to find somewhere else to go. But that was pretty rare. It was pretty rare. Most people are chill at that point.
Yeah.
And I would think that like the care and attention you get when you're one of 2 to 3 people is like heightened compared to if you know like your family took the time to put you in like someone's home versus like a large thing. So I don't know, I feel like there's like inherent warmth there.
Yeah, I mean, we thought it was a much better option than going to,
I didn't
especially
even know
I mean there were
yeah.
Yeah, who would know?
Like, did the state have to come in and look at, like, see what you guys were doing? Because I went to a babysitter. Okay. I grew up going to a babysitter who did that. Like, that was her full-time job. But because she was, like, said it was okay by the state, then they'd have to come in and, like, do these visits and just, like, make sure we had food that day or whatever. But the lady was crazy. She always did everything perfectly anyway. But there would be these days that we'd have this weird person around us while we were like playing outside in our yard. We're like, okay.
Hey, that's good, right?
Yeah,
they're checking in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just run like a business license and checks and things like that. I think she had to have a food menu posted. It wasn't really like a lot of weird things.
Yeah.
I guess like old people bathrooms are pretty weird, you know. They would have their own bathrooms because there's all these extra things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to share a shower really or toilet with somebody who needs all that stuff.
Yeah, does your mom still do that right now, or did she stop?
She's retired, which is crazy, you know, because for 25 years she basically had to be at home or have a sitter or somebody who could stay for her. And now that she's free, we're all quarantined. So I do feel really bad for her.
She's like,
she's like, well, I'm going to go do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's ready to get out.
I bet.
But, oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, was your dad okay with it? Because, like, I don't know if that's not a job that you choose. And then it's like, it very much affects you in your house. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's in your home if your spouse is just like, hey, by the way, I'm going to run like a little nursing home in the house. So hope you're cool with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was sort of an all hands on deck kind of thing. You know, he did need to help out occasionally with like heavy lifting, right? Any kind of heavy lifting. But I don't remember it being a thing, like a fight or anything like that. I think, you know, it's just kind of expected. Like, well, we can't live off of your police salary, so, you know.
Yeah. And so did you guys have like specific chores that you would have to do when you were growing up around the patients, or was it just kind of like whatever they need?
Yeah, not like that. I mean, basically on the weekends, my mom would want us to help her clean the house, and then she would just kind of ask us for help as needed. It wasn't anything like, you have to empty the bedpans before you go to school. It wasn't like that.
I imagine it like farm work where you're like, you got to change all their socks and then clean, you know, whatever. Give them everybody gets a glass of water.
Were the residents invested in like you and your siblings, and like did they know, like you know, to the extent of their memories, like what you all were going was like clubs and sports, or like was it that sort of thing, or what?
Yeah, I mean, when people were able, when they're mobile enough, they went with us everywhere. You know, whether it was a high school graduation or school play, church, of course. Sometimes vacations. I mean, sometimes
they went
it was like, okay, we can either. Sometimes, yeah.
Like, where did you take them?
Just to the beach or something, you know?
That's so great. I
It's like
love
the
that.
cutest thing.
I know.
Did you
Like,
have
can you imagine if you like talk to your grandma at the nursing home and she's like, yeah, we went to, Myrtle Beach last week. You'd be like,
what?
all right,
If I was
okay.
the grandkid, I'd be like jealous. I'd be like, who are these other girls? Like, who else are you hanging out with?
Yeah,
Did you
I
have
know.
one that was like your favorite? Was it the CIA guy?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
He was like nobody else. He was just the classiest gentleman,
Yeah.
ever. And he was really respected in the community, and like in DC and everything. He really was friends with Colonel Sanders. Like, he wrote a book about like Mary Todd Lincoln. I mean, just all this really cool stuff. But I also remember he had all these guy friends, and every week they would come and pick him up and go out to dinner, and they called themselves the Romeos.
Oh my God.
Retired old men eating out.
Stop it.
And I was just like, I hope my friends do that for me.
Yeah.
Come and pick my diaper butt up and take me to the Waffle House or something,
That's so cute.
It was really
I
sweet.
just think it's like such a unique experience to learn so much. Like, I have like one nursing home memory, and it is like my grandmother was in there for something, and it's not even about her. Like, we were outside leaving or something, and there was an old man sitting on a bench, and he had like, the thick orthopedic shoes, and I think he had a cane, and he was just like just trying to stand up off the bench, and the struggle, like he couldn't get up. And I was like, in my anxious catastrophe brain, I was like, can't ever get old. And I think like being able to be like to talk to these folks and to like understand that there's value and things to not be afraid of at all times of life is like just what a unique perspective and experience that you got as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely had its weirdness, but I think it taught us so much empathy that we
Yeah, like
didn't realize.
you guys seem so chill about it. Like the whole family just seems so chill, and which I think is amazing. Just to be like, yeah, let's just nurture these older people that we're not related to, and it's fine.
Exactly. I
like,
even I had oh sorry.
no, go ahead. I was just gonna ask, like, you have siblings, you said, right? You're the oldest of 4. And so
Yeah.
and everybody was on board with it? Like, was there one kid who was like, this is insane, I hate it, or everyone was just like, yeah, we just chill with them?
It was just, that's just life, it's just normal.
Yeah.
I had coffee with my sister and my aunt last week, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on this podcast, and what are some of the things that you remember about it, and what was weird about it? And they both were just like, it was just so annoying how we couldn't go somewhere all together unless they were able to go with us.
Yeah.
That was the main thing we didn't like. But it was such a small town. Where was there to go?
Was
It's
it?
not
Did
like
you
I
guys
had
grow
to
up
give
in
up.
like a tiny tiny town?
Yes, it looks just. Have you ever watched Gilmore Girls? It looks like
Yeah.
Stars Hollow. It's picture perfect, cutest little town, antique stores. It's picturesque. There's nothing to do.
You were like, that's where we just hang out with the
I mean,
old guys.
yeah, they were very entertaining, honestly. So many stories to tell.
It's just so cute how I just love that you guys were just so like, yeah, we just do it. When the first person that you remembered passed away, was that like a big like, was it a traumatic thing when it happened for you guys? Because I just think of how families are when like a puppy or a pet passes away, and then you're just constantly having that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think death is a big issue. So there's sort of two sides to it. So we did see death a lot, but we also saw people living well into their 90s. So I don't know. I think I think we understood that you die, but I don't know. And then we also understood that, hey, there's a quality of life also, once you get to a certain point. And so you can really empathize with that and people going through things like that. But no, I think it made me extremely morbid. I'm not a goth or anything like that, but I'm definitely obsessed with death and not a normal amount, I'm sure.
Did it make you like you think about it, but are you afraid of death, or are you just kind of like because you've been around it so much, you're just like, it's part of life, but I will think about it every day.
Oh yeah, I think about it constantly. Like, oh, how many of us actually get to be that old? And we think of getting old as this horrible thing, but really most people don't get to do it, right? So yeah.
We had my great aunt lived to be 106, and
wow.
she like kept her mind. She couldn't see, but her brain was sharp, and it was just age. It was just like bodies. It's hard to keep them going after 106.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
But she was very like, if something hurt, she would go to the doctor and be like, this hurts, and they'd be like, well, you're old. And she'd be like, well, I don't accept that because it doesn't hurt on the other arm, and that's just as old, and but it sort of was like, okay, I guess we do just keep going forever, because look at Aunt Lil, like she just keeps going.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. To me, I'm like, I think we all just live forever. I think that's how that works, which is certainly my brain trying to block the alternative thoughts, but I'll let that ride for now.
But you're right. I mean, it's not easy to die. Like you can't just close your eyes and say, I wish I was dead. I mean, something has to happen.
Well, yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
I remember my friend's grandmother I think she lived to be like 94 or something like that. And around 92, we would like go see her, and she would just be like, I'm tired of this. Like, it was like, I'm tired of dragging this old body around. And it was like, it is funny because when you're like 30, when you're 50 and 60, you're just like, oh my God, I hope I get as much life as possible. And then you get like 20, and she even said, she was like, I'm just watching my friends die. Like, I just keep watching them die and I'm not dying. she had like a sense of humor, and she was just like, why am I the one not dying? Like, she's like, I'm ready for my turn. Like, I'm tired of this. I'm just watching everybody in my life die, and I'm old and everything hurts, and I'm ready. But not even in like a sad way. She was just like, I've lived a very full life, and I'm like ready for this to occur. Mm-hmm. It was like, and of course everybody else is like, no, don't talk like that. But of course she's just like, shut up, I'm ready.
My body hurts. Yeah. I'm old.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I would say so. I now that I think about it, I've never known anybody like being afraid, when it was coming their way.
Yeah.
They were kind of like, okay, yay.
Yeah. Were you guys ever really upset as a kid? Like, did your parents have to console you, or? Yeah,
I mean, it would be really sad and disruptive, especially usually because they would have to go to the hospital, an ambulance would come and get them, and then they would have to go in the hospital, and maybe they would come back. Sometimes they didn't. And I think that's really hard to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if my parents talked about it as well as they could have, but I think we had a general idea, hunting is popular around there too. So we kind of got the idea of like the lifespan, circle of life, that kind of thing.
They're like, he had to go to a farm.
Yeah.
So
and everything's very Christian. So it was all just, it was all framed in this, like, they're in heaven.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So when your mom, like, before she retired, was there like an understanding of like when who was going to be the last resident, or like how did it phase out, I guess?
Right. Yeah, pretty much the way you said.
Yeah.
There was just this one lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was just kind of like, okay, after she leaves, and she did actually have to go into the hospital. Like she needed more medical care than she was able to receive there. Because my mom's not a nurse.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can do if somebody needs certain things.
Of course.
So yeah, that was just kind of like, okay, I'm retired now.
Wow. It's just so funny, like, to be waiting, especially if you want to retire, because then you're just kind of like, if you could just move this
Yeah,
along.
no, she was waiting for her to die. Right? Well, because she knows, I mean, just age or just being bedridden, that doesn't mean you're gonna die. I mean, you could live years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And as long as your quality of life is you're fine with it, then you can live years.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
Even then.
Did anybody in your family grow up to work in like in a nursing home? Like, did anyone work in a similar field, or did you guys all do different things?
Well, my sister has been saying she's going to go to mortuary school forever, and we're ready for her to do that. But I actually, when I got to LA, and I'm like, oh, I have a master's degree. I'm going to find a job. Like, I'm going to get a job at Netflix or a studio or whatever. And so months later, I'm desperate on Craigslist, right? And I found this assistant job where a lady needed help with her dad also. And so, sent her my resume. She was like, out of 400 people, you were the only person who actually had any experience in this type of thing. And so, I ended up helping her with her dad, who was 93. He had Alzheimer's. He was a World War II veteran. I mean, he was the best.
Yeah.
And I would just come over every day, make him breakfast, and we would do some kind of activity to work on his memory stuff and, help her with her business. And then that was it. But I was actually devastated when he passed away. It was so hard. I went back to my mom and I was like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
It was a lot different when we were just one-on-one.
Yeah. Did your mom get upset?
But it was so weird.
Like, did your mom get upset when you guys were growing up?
No, she didn't show it that much. I mean, she was sad, and we would always go to the funerals, of course, to pay respects to them and to their families. But she never, but once I went back and told her after my experience, I go, how did you do that? I mean, oh my God. And she goes, every time I said, this is it, I can't do it anymore. And then every time, I'd be at a funeral and somebody would say, hey, my grandpa or my dad needs somewhere. And she's like, how could I say no?
You help people,
Yeah. Because I mean, after a while, everybody in our town was just like, will you take care of me when I get old? It was kind of sweet.
You guys were like the most popular nursing home on the block.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many total folks your mom helped?
That's a really good question. I wonder, she's got to know. I think she would have to try and figure it out.
Put them all together.
No, that'd be interesting.
So it started, you said, like, sort of almost before you can remember, right? There's always been someone, and it went through you going off to college. So years, you said 25 years she did it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think she was saying she counted as 25 years total.
Wow. That's
amazing. That was her business.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so great.
And then I've been seeing statistics now for COVID. It says that like 65% of nursing homes are going to have to shut down because of all the added costs. And I'm like, you might need to start consulting and helping people, because where are all these people going to go?
Yeah.
Because I mean, think about it. When you have, maybe you brought somebody home from a surgery and they have to have rehab. I mean, or they're elderly, or they're going to move in with you. There's a lot of things you have to do to your house, and I don't know. I think she'd make a great consultant, because she helped me a lot when I had questions in my job, or whatever you want to call it.
So did you do another job like that after he passed away, or have you was that the one time you did it?
Well, I was an assistant to another lady, and she was in her 70s. And I started to catch on that in Los Angeles, when people get older, they don't want to say they need help. They're going to say,
Yeah.
I need an assistant. So that's their trick. Yeah, it's like one day you're making copies and helping them write, and the next day they're like, will you help me into the shower? Not in the Harvey Weinstein kind of way, like in the I actually need help kind of way. Help me find a bar to install in my shower.
Yeah.
That's more like
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
We'll
That's
edit
so
that part.
We won't tell Harvey.
Right. He actually does need a bar and a shower now.
Yeah.
His prison bar.
So Paulina, where can people find you?
I'm always on Instagram, let's see. I have a comedy show that I do maybe like quarterly now. It's called Wedding Season. And all the comedians do jokes that are something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. So you can look for that. It's really fun. I write for satirical articles for Lady Spike Media, Reductress, and Oregano. And then I have this workbook that's on Amazon. It's about writing prompts. It's to help you write comedy. It's if you want to journal or write jokes or dialogue. I don't know. I think it's really helpful. People have been telling me it's helpful.
What's it called?
It's called 101 Funny Writing Prompts.
And we guys will.
And if you just search my weird name, you'll find it.
We'll put all of our socials on, and we'll also put the link to the book too. Because I saw we saw that you had like all these people posting pictures of them like with the book being like, oh my God, thank you. That's already like I've had it for 10 minutes and it helped me write like 3 new jokes. So definitely check it out. It's getting a lot of good
I don't know. If we can't do stand up, I guess we can help each other come up with material. I don't know. I don't know what to do during this time when we can't get on stage. What do you all? I mean, you have a great podcast.
It's a lot of this. It's a lot of chatting with our headphones on. I have a virtual show this weekend. I'm so excited. I think it's my second one of the year, but I'm just like, all right, I like to tell jokes. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and
I'll actually tell you guys about this. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to tell you about this company really quick. I completely forgot about it. They are a company that brings comedy shows and improv and sketch to nursing homes and to individuals. It's called Laughter on Call.
Laughter on Call.
I am registered with them. Yeah, even though we can't go into nursing homes right now, but it's a really good organization and they're doing virtual stuff right now.
Awesome.
Oh, cool. We'll put
and there's all sorts. I mean, in the before days, I remember reading that they're like, you can hire somebody one-on-one to go hang out with your whoever, and like, it seems just lovely and important.
Yeah.
Old people are the best, you guys.
They are.
And they're really lonely right now. So call them.
Call your old people.
If you don't have any, call someone that has one.
Call somebody else's old person.
It doesn't matter.
So we're gonna give you all the ways to follow Paulina. Go ahead, follow her, buy the book, write your new jokes and tell her thank you. Follow Pinky Promise on all the things and like and subscribe. We got a killer review from City Brunette. Thank you so much. We put it on our Instagram because we're proud of it. And do the things, do all the things.
Yeah, follow us, Pinky Promise Pod everywhere. And we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much, Paulina.
Thank you, Paulina.
Thanks for having me. I'm so happy I got to talk about this.